listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to UppTalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say UppTalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it.
For every component, we need to know 5 things about the component. First one is default saves. After installing any component in CyberArk, we will get a few default saves. For every component, we need to know all these 5 things. First one is default saves and the second one is services. Post installation of that component, what are all the services we will get and what services are responsible for what activity. And third one log files, fourth one configuration files, and fifth one default. For every component like CPM, PVW, PSM, Vault, whatever it may be, we need to know and by heart these 5 things for every component. In case if you are having these in mind, then for day-to-day activities it will be very helpful and it will be easy to work on the request or whatever troubleshooting kind of process or any installation whatever. Now log into PVWA client. As I have informed, PVWA client is one of the interfaces for accessing the Vault data. For accessing the Vault data, we have two interfaces. First one is PVWA client and the other one is PVW. A PVWA client is a thick interface. If you want to access the Vault data using PVWA client, we need to install this. PVWA client means we need to run that exe file. Basically, in real time, we use it to install this PVWA client in Vault server and apart from Vault server, either in CPM or PVW or PSM servers, it will be installed. And the second interface is PVW. It is a web interface, web interface. You will get both end users and CyberArk administrators. We can perform few things in PVWA client which we can't perform in PVW. And also in PW, we can make many configuration changes. But those things we can't do in PVWA client. Like that, there is a difference. For logging into master, we required a recovery private key. And that recovery private key is available in the master key. I have saved operator keys, master keys to different folders. You open that folder where you have copied on the desktop. Now open that master keys folder. Again open that master keys. Here we can see the private key, the first one. If you want to log into Vault as a master user, we require this recovery private key. First we need to point this recovery private key path in the depalm file. I will explain later, like what is depalm, all those things. But for the time being, just remember why we are first logging into Vault makes Vault as a master means we forget the administrator password. Go back to C drive, C program files x86, PVWA server continue. Before making any changes to depalming, just stop the Vault server. No stop from itself. Stop this guy, stop. Already had 4 hits. It's the last one. You can activate, but Only today I just completed my Cyberpunk DR for my V11 environment. It took like 4 hours. Which one? I had a DR to be tested for a new Cyberpunk V11 environment. It went on like 4 hours. The DR is ready. It was insane. Now go back to that server folder and open conf folder. First one conf. First open that first file dpomif. Now search for the private key. Server Republic Vault Server. It's here. Now replace that entire thing with that path. It's less. Save it and start the server. Once again. Can you explain me this? Repeat 1 second. What exactly from here? Why you guys are copying the key? If you want to log into the vault, that means private or client as administrator user, we require recovery private key. What we did, we have mapped that path where our recovery private key is there. That path we have copied and updated in the recovery private key in dpolmif. Otherwise, we can't log into the vault as a master user. For logging into Vault as a master user, we require the private key recovery private key. Login into what? You log in from that private key, like in this private. If you're trying to log in from the private, arc as a client into the master. This private or client is an interface for accessing the vaulted data. If you want to log into private or client, definitely we require one user. By default, we can log into administrator user. But unfortunately, that password we forgot. Now what we are trying to do, we are trying to log into the vault, means private or client, as a master user, and we will reset the password of the administrator user. Thank you. I hope this thing works. A post installation of the vault server, we will get 3 default saves. Here, what is safe? Safe is nothing, but it is a logical container which is used to store the privileged account information. Our log files, our configuration files are most of the times, if those are default, saves. We use it to store the configuration files. Post installation of the Vault server. By default, we will get 3 default saves of Vault. First one is system, second one is Vault Internet, and third one is notification engine. Can you open that system safe? System safe contains Vault configuration files, license file, and log files. Here we can see deployment file is the configuration file. I will go through in depth about this file in a few minutes. And iter, loglog is a log file and license xml is the license file. Pargent log is again a log file, passpermin and tspermin. These are all configuration files. Total 3 configuration files here: dpom, passperm, tsperm, and 2 log files, iter log, paragent log, and 1 license file, license xml. System safe contains these log files, configuration files, and license xml file. Now close the safe. You have a close button above and open Vault Internet. As of now, Vault internal safe is empty. But post integration of LDAP, this safe contains 2 files. One is the LDAP bind user password and another one LDAP integration XML file. We will get those 2 files into this Vault internal safe post. LDAP. Now close this. As of now, this safe is empty. But again, once that integration was done in our lab, again we will come back here and we will open this file in this safe. Then we can see those two files. Now open notification engine. Notification engine file contains even notification engine ini and some XML files. These files are usable whenever if you do that SMTP integration with the Vault. SMTP is nothing but simple mail transfer protocol. If you want to get email notifications from the Vault, like if your backup is D, R is not, or if your backup was not successful, or whenever, if you pull the report immediately, if you want to get the email notification. Those email notifications we can configure using these templates and these ones. For that, we need to do a SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Notification Engine Safe contains all the files related to the SMTP integration. This basically should include the replication data, also could be captured. No. I mean to say, like in case your data replication from production to DR got failed. You need to get one email notification. That email notification related stuff we can configure here. That's it. But that data related, we can't do anything. It's basically that only in the event if it fails, we will get being notified. If it's running well, maybe we are not notified. Great. Makes sense. I'll close this process. What are these steps related to? What default sets up? Now we will check that default. You just now go to Tools menu. Administrator, Tools, Users and Groups. Here we can see the default users of the Vault. First one is Administrator. Everyone knows like we need to log into the Vault as an administrator in case if we want to modify anything. Means administrator is having full rights on all the sets. Next one is auditor. Using the auditor user, we can pull the reports and we can do the live sessions or we can download the records. Basically, auditor user instead of audit related activities, we can use this user for audit related activities like pulling reports, downloading recordings, and even live sessions. Next one is batch. Batch user will use it by the CyberArk itself in background. This, for example, we have a safe retention period. Every 7 days that old files need to be deleted or some background activity. Some cleaning activities will be performed by the batch user in background. We will never touch this user for our activities. Next one is master. Does it mean that it is more of a cleanup kind of a thing which is used or which can be configured? We can't configure anything. We don't have such kind of rights. Just we can configure like we can modify the safe retention period in case if it is 90 days, we can change it to some 6 days, 7 days, 10 days like that. Basically, you mean to say that it's only a service account which is internally used by cyber. All that configuration is essentially done through PVWA. Execution is done through this user. Correct. Great. And next one, system tree. Master. Master user is the main user, which is in case if you want to reset the password of the administrator user, or if you want to rekey the word, or if you want to restore the data from the backup, we require this master user. And again, master user is also part of all, is a member of all the safe, and it is having full access on all the safe. Now expand the system. In general, in real time. We usually take backup of the vault data. In case if you want to vault crash, then we can restore using the backup data. We can take incremental backup and full backup of the vault data. For doing that activity, we require one user. For that activity, we will use this backup feature. Basically, backup feature will take the backups from the vault. While configuring that backup, we will use this backup feature. But how do you take the backup from a physical vault server? We will not take that backup. We can take that safe data. Every safe will be replicated to some other server. For that, we need to install one utility. Because I was wondering, typically these are the physical vault boxes. In such case, how? Not connected to NAS or anything of that kind. Not such kind of backup, just it will replicate all the data that saves and configures the files to some other location using that replica. That's it. What is automation backup process and what will be the retention period for it? Retention period depends upon your architecture company, but the automation backup process is like ones that replicate utilities. We need to schedule it as a task scheduler for every 1 day full backup or every other incremental. If you are doing any backup process simultaneously, we have to maintain the good vault and DR vault for the port for the backup. Again, DR vault is kind of a standby. DR vault is also data will be repeated. We need to point this backup configuration file to primary vault. From primary vault, only this backup will be taken. Perfect. Thank you. Next, DR user. Again, DR user is used for doing replication from production vault to DR vault. If you see the permissions of DR vault, backup all saves and restore all saves. And next one is operator. Using operator user, we can restore the backup data. If you see the permission, restore all saves. As I told you, like using backup user, we can take the backup to any other server. If you want to restore that backup, you need to use this operator. These are all the 7 default users related to Vault: administrator, auditor, batchmaster, backup, DR, and operator. Again, they will use some groups DR user operators. In case if you want, you can create one more Vault user and add those permissions like for backup user, backup all saves, and operator restore all saves, and add it to that respect to backup user or operator users. These are all the 7 default users of the Vault. Just for my purpose, maybe I'll just create an user account with the admin privileges, that just in case administrator is locked out, I have something else too. That is fine. But anyway, we will do the Delta configuration there. We will create the actual application. We will elevate the permission there. Fair enough. Maybe it's not needed. At the end of the session, I will share one Vault out. There is kind of exercise will be there. While doing that exercise, you can create one more and do all the permissions. Cancel. Now log off from the Vault. Close this Privata client interface. Open Privata server interface. Anyway, you know how to stop and start the one. But just in case, if you don't know, the red color traffic button is stop button. If you want to stop the Vault server, you need to click on that red color button. And once stopped, and if you want to start the Vault again, that green color traffic button will be highlighted. If you want to put any debug levels to the vault, then you need to click on the Administration tab and select the debug. By default, per and per for the default debug. Here, we need to enter other values for what issue you want to debug. Those values you need to update. For example, you have done that LDAP integration and a few users are not able to log. If you want to troubleshoot that issue, then you can put that LDAP by debug value. Put comma and then write DAP in capital letters in brackets 1, 2, 3, 4. Those values will be available in the doc CyberArk. Or if you raise a case to CyberArk, they will suggest us to put those debug levels and they will ask us to forward the logs. If you want to put the debug levels dynamically, we can do that in the Administration tab. And if you want to put that, sorry to interrupt, can you create one user and for an LDAP user, we will check the logs here. And the case studies, we can create one user to the activity and we can debug here. What will be the how it's running? We can. Can we check that? Not how it is running, but we can check the flow, where it is breaking. Why that user is not able to run those kind of things. We can. Perfect. We can do that. And a few logs we can't analyze, but we can try. That's it. Basically in this, if you are not unable to fix that issue, definitely we need to raise a case to CyberArk. At that moment, they will only suggest to enable the debug levels and save the logs. In case if we want to start to do, we can try that. But most of the cases they will analyze and they would provide the log. That is about this interface perimeter server. Now minimize this and open services. Post installation of the Vault, you will get 6 services related to Vault. First one is the private database, second one is the private report control agent, and third one is the private server. This private server service is mainly responsible for starting and stopping the Vault server. In case if you stop the private server service from here and if you check that the GUI private server GUI, you can see that the server has stopped and closed for client communication kind of stuff. And coming to the private database. That database service is running. It is responsible for communicating to the database. In background, NSSQL database will be installed in the server. We can't modify any tables or we can't retrieve the data. We can retrieve using EView utility, but we can't modify database level values. Just this database service should be running in case if you want to run some digibomb, digibonix, some queries are there. I will take you to the later stages. In case if you want to run that queries related to database, then this database service should be up and running. For example, you forget your master password and you have raised the case to cyber. Definitely they will charge some $1,000 or $900 and they will provide 1 DB script. In case if you want to run that DB script, then private server service should be in the stopped state and private database service in running state. If it is in running state, then only we can able to communicate to the database. This is one of the examples. Next, private or remote control. If you configure SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol, then this service should be run. Using this service, SNMP traps will be forwarded to the SNMP server. In our lab, I can tell you how to configure the SMP and what configuration file you need to edit, what changes we can do. But we can't configure because in our lab we can't set up the SMP server. Could you just repeat the part? SMP is essentially used here for monitoring the vault. If you want to monitor the vault services, the water utilization, CPU utilization, and disk space, then we need to configure this SMP. This vault is a hardback box. You can't install any third-party agents or any APIs apart from server or server services. For that reason, if you want to monitor the vault, we need to configure the SNMP protocol, Simple Network Management Protocol. But that can be done on a different server altogether. The SNMP configuration from vault, and we need to do some steps. The traps. CMP traps will be forwarded from vault to the SMP server, where in our organizations we have some CMP servers. Those servers will receive the traps and they will check some criteria. In case if you are disk utilization greater, that's 70%, immediately they will be sent an email notification and also an incident to the territory. Good to see you, Subhan. Two questions here. In CyberArk portal, by itself, we can see that entire time utilization on the process, like event logs, like performance of CyberArk. Can we check the digitalization, how we are utilizing the disk, performance, testing each and everything? Can we check in the CyberArk dashboard? And the second question is, you mean to say in the CyberArk PVWA portal one system held, the tab is there. There you are asking we can check or not. Yes, well, specific system has also entered the CyberArk portal. How many services are running through this portal? How many users are accessing and typing the dashboard? Can we see? We can see the logs. We can check that user credentials and details we can monitor. We can check and all. But as for the memory utilization process, utilization, disk utilization, can we see in one dashboard of whole history of how the CyberArk performing for the users? Let me clarify that. CyberArk component servers are there. In the component servers, we can install any third-party tool like SolarWinds or Splunk, and we can monitor those disk utilization, CPU utilization, memory utilization, and service running status. And we can ask that Splunk team or SolarWinds team to put it in a single dashboard. They can configure from our request. But coming to the VOI, we can't install any third-party application. If you want to monitor that utilization using SolarWinds, we need to install one agent in the server. Even for Splunk also, we need to install that forwardness. But for VoIP, we can't do that kind of installation. For that reason, we can configure SMMP on it. Through Splunk also, we can monitor VoIP. But for that, there is a mediator between Splunk server and SMMP server for forwarding those traps. That part I don't know exactly. That respect to team only can configure. But I did like. Using Splunk, we can monitor the CPU, disk, and memory services for the VoIP also. Just our SMMP traps will be forwarded to the SMMP server. From SMMP server, they will inject those logs to Splunk server. There in the middle, they will write something I don't know exactly. But from Splunk end, they can query the logs and they can configure as per our request. In case it does it, it is greater than 80%. Immediately we get a notification and also a ticket. Perfect. Now go to CyberArk services. CyberArk event notification engine. If you configure SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol, then the service will be opened. the notification vault, notifications from the vault, notification safe, and CyberArk's Hot10 Windows Firewall. This is mandatory in case the service is not running. We can connect to the vault server itself. It will close all the ports, even double create and everything it will close. This Hot10 firewall service will be mandatory. In case if you stop the service by this type, then definitely we need to log into that server using a glove in case that hardware is HP and that I drag for other vendors. And using those interfaces, we can start this service and we can do or give it to the server. And next one, logic container. Logic container holds the master logic related to database only against logic container with the dependent service of the database. If you stop the database service immediately, logic container will also stop. These are all the 6 services related to Vault. Now close this window. We covered services log configuration. Sorry, default users and safe. Now we check that configuration files and the log files. Now go back to that folder. Go to C drive program file A66. Server conf. The first configuration main configuration file for the vault is dbin file. In case if you want to make any configuration changes to the vault, then we need to do those changes in bin file. Just we did like we have updated our recovery private department. That path, we need to update the bin file. And for example, if you want to open, by default, only one port will be opened from the vault, that A5. That is the default port of the vault. Apart from that port, if you want to open any other ports, like the double create name, for taking RTP from any other component server, we need to write one firewall rule in the bin file. And the next in case if you are integrating L, DAP, and if you want to add few queries, then we need to add those things also in the bin file. And if you are integrating syslog, again, we need to make those changes in the bin file. If you want to make any configuration changes to the vault, we need to update those in the bin file. For every configuration file, they will give one good file also. In case, by mistake, you did some changes to the bin file and it got corrupted. Then we can restore using do bin file. Now delete the bin file. Or delete this guy, the original ink file. Yes, now rename the dtimefoot to dtimer name. Remove the class boot. Now refresh in case. If it is not created, then we can restart the vault once. Immediately we get here. Just refresh this window. It was not created. Now go to your private server and restart. If you restart, if your vault has started properly, it means your dbin file is fine. Now start. And as I told you, if you want to make any configuration changes, we need to add a few things in the dbin file. For example, you are planning to integrate syslog with the cyber vault, but you don't know what are the parameters we need to add in the dbin file. For that reason, they have provided one sample file also. Just close this and below you have a dbcom sample. Here we can see, for example, if you take auto clear safe history yes 2420, 24 means something is there, but I don't remember exactly. But like this, we can add parameters. If you want to know exactly what the 24 to 15 means, we can check that out at cyberworld.com. What is 24, what is 1, and what is 4? They can accept. Now scroll down there. Below also we can see many things. Here log retention equal to 7, log timar 30. Max access while license equal to 5. If you want to make it to 10, we could change that to 10 and all. Scroll down, scroll to bottom. There we can see syslog section and hasm section. Lot many sections are there below. Baka can debug. Wait here debug. As I told you, if you are to create some LDAP integration and tracing some issues. Here we have a LDAP debug 1450. We may use this as a key. If you put the debug values in the deployment, we need to restart the vault server. Whenever, if you make any changes to the deployment file, you need to restart the vault server. Then only those changes will be reflected. But if you want to put the debug labels without restarting the vault services, then we can put it in dynamic in the interface. Private direct server interface. If you put set dynamic debug labels, no need to restart the vault server. But if you put permanently, then we need to put it in the deployment and you need to restart the vault. Here PK related to PK authentication and scroll down there. We have some syslog section crypto. This is for secure ID and all. Lalapasla. Today, while we are doing the DR, the vendor, at least he asked us to validate some of the data on the LDAP part. Because once we switched over to the DR part, few users were unable to authenticate themselves. But for people who were the administrator kind of a thing, it was working for them. The SAML authentication. He just came back and tried to make some changes on the DPOM data. This deployment file should be identical across all the vaults. In case of your production vault is in cluster in those two nodes, active and passable, this file should be identical. And whenever, if you make any changes to the deployment file, definitely you need to make those changes in all the three vaults, DR side and product side. Basically, I think what he did was he copied everything as is from the primary vault and pasted it, or rather replaced it in the DR vault. And post that and he will restart the services. In real time, in cases at what time this file should be like if you are doing any configuration or if you want to do any recover something. What is the purpose of using this file? Assume that now we have created everything, vault server, everything is running fine. We are the users also created. I got your doubts. Let me think. Due to some reason, you want to test your master user. Or as a part of every activity, you want to test your master user password, whether it is working or not. In that case, you need to update this deployment file. Once the testing has done, immediately we need to delete the recovery private key from the vault server, and also we need to change the path of the recovery private key in the deployment file. This is one of the examples. And another example is like you have opened the double thread and port for your CPU server from Voxel. But later, due to some exceptions, due to some scenarios, you want to change this at P433 8.9 to not to CPU. In that case also, you need to update your pip in the allow noun standard for address value. I will show you how that parameter will be. These kind of changes you need to do in the deployment file. Yes, here in this file we are seeing this ldap syslog file sm file. Perfect. Assume if any user of LDAP, like auto synchronization, external objection, or external objection policy, whatever required LDAP connectivity. And the syslog also means the entire syslog of the specific user of the LDAP file, the LDAP users of syslog. I'm saying WOM file like PVWA files. These are all not related to the user. These are all related to the user. Integration to integration is different. LDAP, why we need to do LDAP integration? Because some external users like Active Directory users, if they want to log into Cyber, definitely we can't create all the users in the Cyber world itself. Definitely we need to create one external directory. For that reason, we need to integrate the LDAP. Like that for every integration or every configuration, there is just some importance. These are all not the kind of user specific. For different purposes, user admin specific purpose, what exactly we have to do. Here, the my question is specific question is as an administrator. Do we need to do any changes based on the requirement? On the requirement level, or we have to do it to run these services? No need to make any changes for running the services. Once that implementation and installation part is done, we will not touch this configuration at all. If you get any requirement, then only configuration changes. Perfect. Any requirement. What exactly will be the requirement? That's what I told you. In case, if you want to organize a master user as a part of a pre-air activity, definitely you need to make these changes. For example, let me tell you another thing. Initially, that syslog servers are configured in 10.1, 1.1, but due to some reason they have upgraded that server to some other IP. In that case also, you need to update your syslog IP here, even for LDAP also. Initially, but LDAP configuration force we can configure here. But syslog IP only we can configure here. It is also one of the examples. We have in this file, we have to go this file in a syslog. We have to change the IP address. In case if they have upgraded or migrated to different server beforehand, they will communicate to all the application owners who are all using that syslog. On that change window, we as a cyber team, we need also to participate in that change, and we need to update our debonging file, and we need to restart our world servers, and we need to get confirmation from the SIEM tools team whether they are getting the syslog from cyber or alternative. Again, I don't think we are making changes very frequently to this, because for me, we are not making any changes. But he's asking some examples. In use case rather. Yes, as you said, at the server port, if something is done on the production, assume that there's an IP has been changed. If we are upgrading the IP like 10.11, I know port number. Can we change the port number and the IP address? The change can we be as an admin. We have to change in syslog also. I don't understand your question. I think we need to change. I'm from cyber configuration and we will change those. That's it, a syslog server, and that respect would change. Why we are changing that initial configuration? They have updated something and they dropped an email to all the application owners who are using that service. In that scenario only, we will change. Otherwise, why do we need to change? We can close the DB pump sample. Now, if you want to upgrade your license of the vault server, we can do that activity in two ways. Either we can replace that license file in the system safe, or we can replace in this directory also file system. If you replace that license file from file system, then you need to restart the vault services. If you update that license file in the system safe, then no need of restarting the vault services. You are this part. Better to upgrade without restart. Correct. Better to update in the system safe. Then no issue. Automatically it will be affected. No need to restart any services. When you say system safe, it should be here. Throughout. Open, double click on the system. Here the license. Here you can see the license. Again, before making any changes to DB file, definitely you need to take one backup from. Just for our safer services. You can access anyone. You can get back to system here. Just you can copy paste. Or you can retrieve this file and save it in the vault server by making one folder on that. That's it. Just click on the license file. Retrieve and save it. Hold on. Retrieve and save as. If you click on retrieve and save it, it will ask for a path. You can create one folder and put it in that folder. But this copy is different from the file, or maybe from the copy of what is saved on the C drive. No, both are the same. No. The contents are the same, but the locations is. This is more of an encrypted way of storing the data, which is not disturbed as such. Correct. Even for license file, also why I'm asking to take backup notes. Sometimes the license which we get from the cyber, or it doesn't work, or it is having some random numbers. What we have requested that we not there in the actual file. Due to the whoever such cases, we can take backup of our existing license file and we can update the new license file. In case if the new license file is having any issue, definitely we can replace with the existing license file. Then we can go back to vendor and they will provide that new file. Just backup is kind of our safety. Log off and go back to the file system. Now Argentine file. Now open this file. If you want to SMMP integration. SMMP integration is nothing but for making monitoring the vault services. If you physical memory, app memory, it is useless. For that, we need to update this Argentine file. Here you can see by SMMP traps threshold CPU 290/30Hz. 200 means every 200 seconds, means 3 minutes 20 seconds. These traps will be forwarded. When it will forward means in case that physical memory reaches to 9% threshold, then it will check for 3 times for 30 seconds. Still it is in spike, then immediately it will forward that trap to the SMMP server. Then from SMMP server, we will get the email notification and ticket. Same for CPU swap memory, it gives us service status also. In case, if you want to change this configuration, we can reduce the values. Instead of 90, we can put 60, 70, 80. Again, it depends on the. Through this file, if the time limit is extended from the mention, it will reflect to portal through SMP and we are getting a notification. After getting a notification, do we have to change something in the file or in? No. Why you need to change the file? Immediately, upstream members will log into the wall server and they will check the processes, which is called the highest memory utilization or CPU utilization. In case, if it is related to disk, definitely we need to create one high priority to that storage stream and we need to extend that disk size. But all those things, we can't do it immediately. Immediately what we can do? We can fail over to DR wall. That's it. We can fail over to DR wall and we can fix those issues. Then again, we will fail back to portal server as an immediate result. What is the 200 you said? 200 is basically 200 seconds means 3 minutes 20 seconds. And 90 would be the threshold. 3 is like 3 intervals, 3 times for every 30 seconds. Yes, still it is in spike then. Only after that you trigger a notification. Smempy shout for that. Again, I will cover this integration in a separate class, but just we have opened this far ahead. Now open passforming. Passforming contains the password, complexity of that wall to users. It makes a minimum of 4 characters required 1/8 something. Minimum of 6 characters, those kind of password complexity you can set in the passforming file. Minimum is 0, password read number 3, all those things. This is local to CyberArk. Only CyberArk internal user sees nothing but the local images. Fair point. Close this. And last file, tsformix. Tsformix contains the safe drive. By default, C drive private are safe. That is the safe solution. Can you open that file system C private are safe ones? Private are safe. Opened. Here we can see notification engine picture system volume. Whatever saves are created, the equal amount of folders will be created. If you want to change, this saves location to some other drive because in real time we will not store our application related data in C drive as a good practice. Only OS related information will be stored in the C drive. In that case, we need to update this saves directly. For updating the saves directly, there is a lot process, and we need to make changes in 3 or 4 configuration files. For that, there is a separate article also in CyberArk. In case, if you want to change the saves directly, we need to change in 3-4 locations. Now, and the last one is a wallinf file. This wallinf file contains our wall server IP address by devo271. We can update this address to our wall IP address. That loopback address will get by default, but in later sales you cannot get to. In case if you install DR Vault and if you want to repeat it, then we cannot get to our vault. And for all the configurations which are documented, if I had to comment out, hash is the tag, that it cannot be absorbed, and that's consistent across all the INF files under this folder. Now go back to one folder. Open database. Vault TTP is the log file related to the database, and MEF file is the configuration file related to database. In case if your database is not starting, not up and running, then we need to open that Vault TP file. And in case if you are not able to understand, definitely in case if you file any database issue, then we need to reach out to CyberArk. And this port of 3.6 is again internally communicated locally within the vault itself. It's not a text. It's not a text, but the 106 simulated to database. But again local to the vault server itself. The files are related to database. But those files now open the logs folder. The main log file for the vault is ETA. On the private server interface, whatever you are seeing, the same thing will be available in the ETA. If you restart your private server, then that old information will be gone in the private server. But if you want to check that old information, you can open this ETA log text file and you can see the old updates and results. Now close this and we can see we need to see another log file called trusted. No, inside the logs only trusted. This log file in case if you put any debug levels and if you want to troubleshoot, then we need to open this trusted log and see a vault manager. Log is there above a see a vault manager. In case if you run any CI vault commands, few commands are there for related to CI vault. If you run those commands, then we need to check this log files. This is basically for the certificates and few commands. Yes, that is related to certificates and CI vault manager. We need to run few commands in certain scenarios. In that case, we can check this log file. Then I'll go back. If you want to check your vault version, just click on the TV main application file. Hold on. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@upptalk.com.